Welcome to Villa Bella Luna. Come on inside. The first room that I want to introduce you to is the family room. This room overlooks the water. Right outside of the windows, we have the beautiful view of Manhattan straight across the water. I started this room with the rug that echoes the water with the blues. And then we punched up a mural paper that brings the mountains to the water. And we have this abstract light fixture, this beautiful white sectional, and then I wanted a piece of art that would speak to all of these elements. So I chose this photograph by Lynn Savarese, which is called Water Galaxies. I really love her work and how the stars reflect on the water, and I love the title Water Galaxies. The next room we have here is the creative corner. This room also overlooks the water, and one of my favorite pieces in here is the selenite light fixture. We also have bookcases that have lots of fun accessories, some olive wood chairs, and the palette for this room began with the rug as well. I commissioned this piece of art to be created from the colors in the rug and the colors that I wanted to use in the room. Hans Fischer, who some of you might know, is a local Ridgefield artist who created this piece for us last fall before he passed in December. So we are very, very honored to have this gorgeous piece that we call In Time. A personal touch here was a portrait that the owner asked to have done of her dog, Gia. This is a painting that I created, and it's called Little Gia in the Big World. In this room, that also overlooks the water, we again brought in the nautical colors with the blues and the whites. A really cool coral light fixture hangs over the room, and the sun mirror is over the sofa. To choose the perfect art, I really wanted something that again spoke to the water, spoke to something that would be significant to the client. She had been to this very area in Spain, and this photographer, Troy House, did this gorgeous piece, large scale for us for this space. You might say no house is complete without a gym, and here it is, a really fun space with the terracotta and turquoise and some really great equipment. Really, really fun with the chandelier, and again, some of my melodies from Greece. In the hallway, I wanted to do something that would bring in more of an earth element to the home. So we have these gorgeous prints on rice paper done by Elizabeth Childs, which features these big lean cool piece called Undulating, which is a sculpture by Martha Sturdy, sold through Holly Hunt. I really loved how it echoed the steps, but in a softer, more rhythmic way. Over here on this wall is a piece of mine called Constant, and on the back is written Constant Mental Elevation. Every woman should have a dressing room like this. As you can see, it's really, really beautiful, and we wanted to create a very special, serene, feminine space for all of these gorgeous clothes and handbags and accessories. We have the window seat, we have a beautiful valance, silver leaf wallpaper, And then I really wanted to have a very special piece of art in here as well. So I commissioned this piece called Blossoms and Mountains. This is the yoga room, which has this great balcony overlooking the water. And over the sofa, which is a Kelly Wearstler piece, is a piece of mine called Small Things. I wanted a photograph to complement the painting, and I chose this piece also by Lynn Savarese. On the floor is a really great plum and lavender rug, great for kind of the spiritual elements of this room. And then over the piece over here where we have kind of the spiritual altar is this awesome mirror from ABC Home. In this corner we have these awesome jellyfish lights that I think are really cool to bring in again this water idea and have fun in the space. This little painting was done by an artist out in California who I found on the beach, and I love how it brings the colors of the wallpaper in for the powder room. This was a really fun room to design because this is the space where the client's granddaughter likes to stay. So I chose this really fun Missoni bedding and this rug that has all these great colors. And I found this piece of art that looks like a gemstone. Thought that was so cool how it mixed with the bedding and really complemented it. I love this little piece of art that is watercolor paper just layered on top of each other with clouds and beautiful colors to complement the bathroom. In the master bedroom, it also overlooks the water with a beautiful balcony. We have these two chaise lounges and this gorgeous rug from ABC Home. I wanted something really light and airy over the fireplace. I chose this piece by Gabriella d'Italia called Fleeting Moments, which I think is so soft and serene with the space. On this wall is another piece that I created called Just Souls, which I find really romantic for the bedroom. The bed is so pretty with the layers of ivory and the embroidery, and I love how these marble vases accent well with everything, and the little hint of green in the lamp. Really so soft and so sweet. This is a really special piece by Naoko Sereno. It's fiber art, and it is a heart, and it's called Rooted, which I love to have in the master bathroom because I feel like this is our most intimate space, and having something that symbolizes heart, being centered, being rooted, is really so special and such a great way to wake up in the morning. This is, to me, one of the most fantastic spaces in the home, the dining room. We have this beautiful Trezani light fixture over the dining table with a custom water-inspired rug that was created for us. And I really wanted something cool on the table. I didn't want just, candles or a floral. And I found out about this artist called John Garrett, and he creates these pieces that are just amazing, twisted and textural and metallic and colorful. So he created this special for us, really large, to go on the dining table. The client also requested to have a heart in the dining room. So I created this painting for her, which actually began with an infinity symbol and was painted to Jan Tierson's music, who's a French composer. So I really, really love the power that this heart gives the space. And then we wanted to have something light and kinetic and beautiful on either side of the painting. And I commissioned these from Brigitte Bouquin-Sells. I think I'm not doing her name justice, but she's a wonderful artist, also French, who creates these from French handkerchiefs. So I love the movement of this with everything else. And this stunning, stunning, stunning console underneath from Randolph and Hine is just such a cool echo to John Garrett's piece on the table. And here we have this knockout center table from Randolph and Hine. It's like the shape of a tulip, and I absolutely, absolutely love how it grounds the space. For the powder room, I really wanted something elegant and graceful, so I commissioned these drawings of Givenchy and Chanel gowns by Tina Gargiulo. Coming into the living room, we have this lovely little series of moon paintings. And again, just bring in our natural elements. We want the sun, the moon, the water, the earth. We want it all represented in the space. Last but not least, this would absolutely be my favorite room. It was just featured as a Design Innovator Award in the Serendipity Magazine. The rug that is featured here is a really, really gorgeous piece from ABC Home. I love the deep, rich, bluish grays that are in it. It was our first find for the space. Then I had these sofas custom made to mirror each other in front of the fireplace. Bringing in some of the blues, a little more gray in this room, a little more grayish blue, and some really pretty accents. I love this plexicraft table, and the chairs over by the window have this really, really fabulous large border at the bottom. In the center of the two chairs is the lion table from Baker, which is so cool. And a really, really, really great lamp from a company called Aqua. And Roche-Bobois did the lamp on the other side. The big star of the room is this vision that I had to have a blue rope sculpture over this massive fireplace. I was so happy when the client loved the idea to create something unique. And it took some figuring out, but it finally happened. This is a beautiful rope sculpture that I call From the Deep. I wanted something on the wall over here to just softly play off of that piece. And this is called Look to the Sky by Gabriele D'Italia. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour of Villa Bella Luna. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you so much, Monica. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much for everybody participating. I appreciate it. So I did see one question in the chat. I want to jump right into questions and answers for anyone that might have them. And I saw that there was a question about how long the process took. So for this home, it took about a year from beginning of the design process to the end till it was all installed. I would say a year and a couple of months until every piece was in and installed. But, you know, it was such an enjoyable process. You know, first of all, I love the client, and that is one of the most gratifying experiences for me as a designer is to work with someone who I really enjoy and meld with, and can have, creative freedom with and be inspired by, and really, create something beautiful together. And I think, our mission with this discussion is about finding art that is significant to whoever's living in the space. And, it's so personal. And my job is always to find, what is going to be the connector between the client and the artist, and find something that's going to really reflect the homeowner. But as you're searching for art on your own, I would really encourage people to look to see how they feel when they're in front of a piece of art. And to me, that is the most motivating factor, is how do you feel in your home, in your environment, and how are the things around you reflecting who you are as an individual. So as we head into this art show that the Mark Twain Library is hosting, I think it's a wonderful process for people to go throughout their home and really evaluate how they feel from room to room, and really, take stock and think, okay, is this something that I've had for years, and is it still meaningful to me, or is it representative of a time that is actually far in my past and something I need to let go of? And I think that is, especially in this time, in this era right now, when we're in so much transition in the world, I think we have to go with the flow and really evaluate what's meaningful to us now. We all know that this is the big theme of everything that's happening right now, that we need to really lock into what's meaningful to us. So to me, of course, the home and the art around us is so reflective of the soul and how we feel as individuals, who we are, how do we identify ourselves. And in this time of social distancing, this is it. We almost, I don't know about you, but I'm talking to the walls a little bit. So, they are my friends, all of my belongings and my things around me, so they're really, really important to me, that they capture who I am and make me feel alive and make me feel good. And, some of these questions that we can ask ourselves is, how do we want to feel? Do we want to feel peaceful? Do we want to feel joyful? Do we want to feel, energized in our space? So if these are the adjectives that we're looking for, that's how we should feel about a piece of art. Okay, is this piece making me feel joyful? If it's not, well, then maybe it's time to go, and maybe it's time to find something new. And as we look for new art, it's about that feeling. So I think there are some more.
Would you like? I can read one off to you. If you mentioned rugs behind, I know you mentioned rugs behind the initial design inspiration in a couple of the rooms. Do you find that artwork, light fixtures, or rugs primarily dictate the mood?
The mood. Well, I think if it's a knockout piece, then that's going to dictate the mood, So if it's something that's a real eye catcher, if the rug is a real eye catcher, and it's, you walk in and you say, oh my gosh, look at how gorgeous, then that's going to dictate the mood. If you have a phenomenal rug and a phenomenal piece of art and a phenomenal light fixture, all of those elements are, coming together to play with your eye and delight you and excite you. And, they can certainly dance together in that way. But it is a fine balance for sure.
And can you tell them a little bit more about the table centerpiece? That's when the sound went out. So if you could explain a little more about the dining room.
Yeah, John Garrett created that piece, and he does work that looks like that. He had created something similar, kind of smaller, and I basically requested it much larger. And to me, to have personality and to create this really wow moment, first of all, that light fixture is heavenly to me. It's like a gown of chains, which is so cool. And, this metal textural kind of punk rock, rough around the edges, but very colorful and bold piece on this very elegant dining table, to me reflects the personality of the client a bit, and probably myself also. And that's why the client and I get along so well, is that we both have that desire to be playful, but then kind of tough and cool and stylish and fun. So that, I think, you know, we were in agreement that that would be priceless on that table. You know, it would have a big wow. And I think it certainly achieved that.
I think so. It was wow. Can you also explain the Red Heart art piece? Did you that you did, and why? That is also the sound. That's when the sound went off also. So
Yes. I'm glad you asked, because that was important to me. And I'm like, oh, we lost it. We lost that moment. So the client, this was her vision, to have a big red heart in her dining room. And, you know, I loved the idea, and she requested that you know, she commissioned it for me. And I found this piece. So all of my art is created to music. And I have this composer who I adore named Jan Tiersen, who's a French composer. And his music is, you know, it has like the glockenspiel, and, you know, it's like this really playful, you know, fantasy sort of music. So I started listening to that really, you know, on repeat, and it inspired the piece. And I started the whole thing with a large infinity symbol, which again, we love meaning and depth, right? So the infinity symbol tied into the heart. And so this everlasting message of love in the dining room, in this main space, was a very bold choice, and something that I think really is so wonderful. Played with that John Garrett piece, played with the chandelier, and then on either side we have these French handkerchief pieces created by the French artist Brigitte Pupensel's, which again, like just this kinetic and cool, and they're light and feathery, and they move a little bit when you walk through, and so really playful, really enjoyable. And you know, it was so fun to have a client who was ready to take that risk and just make something unique and cool.
very beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Jellyfish light fixtures?
Do you see me giggle when I talk about it? I mean, again, I love playful, fun stuff, and you know, being that the home is on the water, there were lots of plays with, you know, with this water element. And jellyfish, you know, you should definitely have jellyfish floating through your room, should you not? Especially when you're in social distance land. Have some jellyfish float through. It'll make you feel good. But they actually give off really amazing light, and those little pinholes that are in the top of them project this beautiful light around the room that you couldn't really see in that shot, but in the evening it looks amazing.
Oh, they sound beautiful. How do you usually bring the artists and the clients together to work on a vision for the site-specific space?
Well, you know, I'm definitely the liaison, right? So I would say I'm showing the client the artist's work, and I'm saying, what do you think? Do you like this style? I could totally see it working for your space. And if they say yes, then I say, okay, this is kind of the idea that I'm thinking, and this is the direction I would like to send them in. Yes, great. And then it's, you know, telling the client or telling the artist, okay, this is the constraints of the space. This is kind of the color palette we're going for. Do your thing. And then trusting the artist and letting them do their thing. I think it's the kind of the respect that I try to encourage within my clients, to let the artist and trust the artist to do what they do best. I'm really ridiculously in love with what I do, so I'm kind of stupid about every part of the process. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, I love that idea, and we need to do this, we need to do that. But for sure, without a doubt, when it's like full install, I mean, that's like, I'm like skipping around, like, oh, put this here, put this there. And like, it's just so delightful and fun for me when it all comes together, you know, that's the install day and the day that we get to take the photo. I'd say those are the big payoffs, you know. But for sure, the whole like when I'm working on a floor plan and shopping and all of that, I mean, I love to go down to the city. I get so charged by that, being down there. But you know, I tend to work, because I'm so inspired by music, there's constantly music playing. So it's like this very fluid kind of thing when I'm working, and it feels amazing. So I love it all.
Your passion is very evident in your product. So beautiful home.
I have a little piece. It's actually Braden inspired. My son told me he's obsessed with his stuffed bear. And so he loves the song Bare Necessities, which I'm sure you all know. And so it turned out to be this very pastel, smaller painting, very pastel, very light, and kind of landscape inspired. And on the back, it's, you know, written in my little handwriting. It says, "The bare necessities of life will come to you." So that's my little humor, but I think it's a very soft, very pretty piece. Thanks. So there's one room that we didn't have on the tour. I like to call it the sun room, and it was inspired by a piece. Well, it came in harmony because of the sunset that like flows through the space, which is really you know, beautiful. And I requested that we put this piece of art in it that is one of mine, that has these sun colors and then this flash of emerald green. And you know, I love the way this room came together because of the big sun light fixture in the middle. And then if we move to the other shot, you can see how, you know, this just goes out to the water, and you can imagine that at sunset, you know, how the light just comes in and these melon colors of the sunset plays into the room. And that painting is called Be Free, which I think is, you know, a really nice theme to go along with the sunset.
Yeah. Another beautiful room.
Thank you. I'm a lover of earth for sure. So to me, any natural setting is, you know, really inspiring. So I would love to do in the woods. I'd love to do by the water. I'd love to do the city. I mean, honestly, I think the one thing that I struggle with the most would be small confined spaces. I tend to like big open, you know, I feel like I want to create big open space. So I would say I'm more challenged by when things are, you know, very confined.
Thank you. We have another question about the beautiful pink piece in the bathroom. Is that one of yours?
That's a piece by a California artist named Sharon Lee. She has actually a really wonderful company. She paints her own art, and she also designs textiles. She has a company called Crane Home. And yeah, that piece was really lovely. Blossoms and Mountains, it's called.
And how do you incorporate wallpaper into your projects, or do you not use wallpaper?
I love wallpaper. It's a question of if the client likes the wallpaper. But you know, I think wallpaper can be incredibly playful in smaller spaces. Actually, that's a chance to kind of open up the space with giving something that's playful and has pattern, and it's also really nice just to add texture on the wall, you know, in a larger space. But certainly any layer of detail, I think is lovely. You know, there are so many great wallpapers out there, so many beautiful companies. You know, I was definitely a child who
colored all the time. Crayons were always with us, you know, and I would always rearrange furniture. So, I mean, I found this folded up, taped up piece of paper, you know, that children do, and they put it in a time capsule, you know, that kind of thing. I found that once in my parents' basement, and it was from when I was maybe 6 years old. And I'm like, what is this thing with stickers all over it? Do not open until the future or whatever. I opened it up, and it was tons of floor plans. You know, it was like these drawings of like how I pictured my dream home, and you know, so I would say that they went hand in hand for sure. Thank you.
Any more questions out there? Monica, do you have any tips for everyone as they shop this weekend or in the next week at the art show?
Yeah, I think, you know, I really want people to get into the whole idea of how they feel in front of art. And I think that it is, obviously I'm passionate about it, but it affects us. What you have in your surrounding completely affects how you feel. And so as you consider purchasing a new piece for your home, you know, first of all, as I suggest, you know, evaluate your home, evaluate how you feel in each room, evaluate what's on your walls, what does it represent, who is it? Is it speaking to me enough? Is it something I just purchased because I needed something on the wall? Is it just like a store-bought filler that I you know, was a space filler, or does it really, you know, really have meaning and have presence and have power and have something that makes us, you know, raises our vibration? You know, I think you know, this is again such a time of transition, and so we need, this world needs healing. And to me, art and how it reflects who you are in your home on a day-to-day basis, it's basically an affirmation, right? And especially if it's something that is in your main space where you know, let's say you always wake up and you always walk out to your hallway, and your hallway, let's say, is bare, and it's an opportunity there to have something that fills you up, you know, that gives you something that gives to you rather than leaves you feeling flat. Does that make sense?
It's a beautiful thought. Great, good advice. I have another question. You are so gifted at color. Do you find that you have to hone or sharpen your skills for putting colors together? If so, how do you do that? Or does it just come naturally?
I love color, and I think I'm definitely inspired by the world, right? I'm inspired by nature. So I'd say that it's honed by spending time in nature, going for hikes, going to the beach, going to a museum, you know, connecting to all of what the world's bounty that is constantly filling us and gives us that opportunity. Even on Instagram, right? There's some great stuff on Instagram. You know, you follow artists and designers and nature photographers, and you know, that charges and inspires and plays with the ability to use color for sure.
Wonderful, thank you. Where do you get your art supplies for your paints and canvases?
Mostly Jerry's in Norwalk. You know, try to give it to the local, you know.
That's great. Very good. Okay, we have a little more time if somebody has another question. I'll have to take a couple more.
You know, I think that's one thing that I can't say that I talked about enough, you know, in that video is how much I am grateful for, of course, the wonderful homeowner who gave me the freedom to do what I love, and all of the incredible people who participated in it. There were so many people that helped to make that project come to life that you don't see, you know, and, you know, from my window treatment installer to people I purchased fabric from, to the, you know, obviously the artists, the all the different tradespeople. That rope sculpture, actually, if if you'll indulge me, I'll talk about that. You know, that was such a you know, fun vision, and to have a client who, you know, I just kept looking over the, I mean, we had found the rug, we had decided on, you know, a lot of the furniture, and we would walk through that room and I would look up at that space and I'm like, I just keep seeing this blue rope thing there. I just have this rope sculpture in mind. And, you know, it was a wonderful thing that, you know, she said, you know, yeah, okay, cool, go for it. And so, you know, it was quite a process to figure out how I was going to make that happen. And I had reached out, I found different rope artists and people, incredibly talented people, you know, and it was like, there was all these obstacles, you know, like, oh, this isn't going to, you know, well, I don't know if that rope will work or whatever. And then actually it was what was wonderfully, you know, talk about synchronicity of, you know, I had Braden had a play date here. My son had a play date. And he said to me, you know, my friend here, his mom, you know, builds sets for Broadway. And I'm like, oh, you don't say. And so I reached out to her, and she actually owns like a union shop that literally creates all of this. She's a Reading resident, if you know her or don't. She creates all of the, you know, for the best shows on Broadway. And she introduced me to a gentleman in Bethel who has a barn on his property that, you know, he creates these great sets with, you know, in his space there. So I got together with him, and he ordered all these different rope samples, and we worked together, and he had this wonderful sculptor who worked with him as well. And you know, they understood what I meant when I said, well, it should be kind of like dreadlocks and then iron rings, and then this part should loop around, and then it should kind of dance up this way. And, you know, it was just amazing that they spoke the same language that I did, and completely, you know, and I'm like, well, this part, you know, and I'd physically twirl around. It should twirl here. And then, you know, and they're like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then, you know, they made it, and it was really quite on point with how I kept imagining it. So that felt really amazing. And I think the title for me of From the Deep, you know, is, you know, I'm going to get real deep with you here. You know, the house is on the water. Oh, I have a symbol right here. Sorry. My son's drum set right there. But, you know, to get really deep, you know, the house is on the water, and, you know, we all go through struggle in our lives, right? So when you take the deeper, harder times and you create something beautiful with those times, it elevates you. And that's what it was to me. It was like this unearthing, you know, this taking this thing from the water and mounting it above the fireplace, and it's from the deep, and you look at it and it's like, okay, this elevates me. And that's how I feel. I mean, somebody else might not get it that way, but to me that makes sense. So that was kind of the symbolism behind it. I have a website called mygingerland.com, and all the ones that are available are posted there. I try to do my best to take off the ones that are sold or committed to somebody else. But yeah, so most of the ones there. And then also the frame shop in Ridgefield is showing a few of my pieces right now.
Good to know. Thank you, Monica.